UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is to speak to the Russian President Vladimir Putin and visit Eastern Europe in the coming days, all in an effort to resolve tensions over Ukraine.
Russia has gathered 100,000 troops, tanks and missiles at the border with Ukraine, but denies plans to invade. Europe correspondent Steve Kinane has more from Kiev.
And what we know is that's likely to be a phone conversation. Be a pretty interesting conversation to hear. Boris Johnson's been quite critical of President Putin, and also he's been very supportive of Ukraine. And in fact, Britain has helped supply military aid to Ukraine, and that country is very popular here right now. So there's expected to be talks this week, but also Boris Johnson's planning to visit Eastern Europe. We don't know which countries yet. I suspect probably some of the NATO countries that are geographically quite close to Russia, and I suspect they're probably discussing the deployment of troops to those countries as tensions continue along the border. I think you'll see something else this week in the UK too, and that is some pressure on the UK to do something about the wash of dirty money from Russian kleptocrats that has been washing around the capital city of the UK. The US has been very critical of Britain in the last week about that, and I think you'll see Britain take a tougher approach on sanctions around those kind of issues of Russian interests.
Now, Steve, you spent some time in the woods outside of Kiev today with the Territorial Defence Force. Who are they? What are they up to?
They're a bunch of volunteers. They're civilians, and they were doing military drills in the woods, and they are preparing for an invasion. They want to be ready in case Russia invades their country. What their role? Well, if that happens, they see their role to be doing things like protecting petrol stations, protecting stores, protecting supplies, that kind of thing, and supplementing the military. And it was quite extraordinary to see the range of ages. I mean, I spoke to one bloke who was 68 years old. There were people there in their 20s. There was men, women, people from all walks of life. There was teachers and doctors and civil servants and people who worked in the IT industry. And I spoke to one particular guy called Vadim, who's a 57-year-old Ukrainian, and he is a managing director of a property business. And here's what he had to say to me.
It's a war. And I'm a man. I have to protect my country. I have to protect my family. That's it. It's quite simple for me. Because, you know, it's not about nationality. It's not about Russian people or some. It's enemy. They're gonna kill us, so we try to do it.
Now, Steve, you say that these are volunteers who are ready or preparing and ready to supplement the military should there be an incursion into Ukraine. Are there many of them?
Well, the Defence Minister last week said that there were at least 100,000 in these forces. A very interesting poll was conducted in Ukraine at the end of last year where Ukrainians were asked, you know, would they be involved in some form of armed resistance? 1 in 3 Ukrainians said they would. That means about 13 million Ukrainians said that they would get involved in an armed resistance if Russia invaded. So there certainly seems to be an appetite to help the military if any invasion happens. And you could hear from what Vadim said there, and he was very representative of other people there too, is that they will passionately defend their home country if Russia invades.